And welcome into Making Sense. You know, we've just got done with convention season here. First we had the Republican, then the Democratic convention. If you watched it from gavel to gavel, whew, you're a brave soul. But even if you didn't, you probably wanted to pick up some big points. I think one of the things most of our viewers are concerned about is the economy, especially as you're growing older, because what happens in the economy makes a lot of sense for us as we age. So today we're bringing in Brandt McDonald with McDonald Hagen Wealth Management. And Brandt, what we want to do this week is talk about economically, what would things look like under a Trump presidency? And then don't get all upset, because next week we're going to do it with the Hillary presidency.
That's right.
And the reason we did the Trump then Hillary is that's the way the conventions rolled.
That's
okay?
right.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So give us kind of a peek under the tent. So
you know, I've got to tell you, this is one of the most common questions I've been getting lately.
Oh, I'm sure.
From clients, friends, wherever I go. They say, hey, what's going to happen to the market? What's going to happen to the economy if Trump gets elected or Hillary? And so, you know, we've done quite a bit of research at our firm trying to understand the implications of whoever might win. So when we start thinking about Donald Trump, you know, this is an interesting character, obviously. Yes. When you, at first blush, he sort of reminds us more of sort of a Democrat platform or more of a social platform. A lot of the things he's been talking about in terms of better trade deals or eliminating NAFTA or some of those types of things essentially it smacks of protectionism, which for a free market type person like myself is a little concerning actually. Now, to be clear, there's no question that everyone wants good trade deals.
Yes.
That is good for U.S. citizens and U.S. workers.
It's got to be a win-win.
It's got to be a win-win.
Yes.
I would say if you think about, you know, Milton Friedman talked about this. He's an old economist, and he talks about, you know, the minimum wage and how workers having a place to go, even if they're making a very extremely low wage, are getting trained in the job in the core areas that they need in order to provide them with upward mobility. So when you look in the case of China, you know, we created an industrial revolution for them. I mean, and we have absolutely created a powerhouse of an economy in China, because what happens in a free market, jobs go to the people who are willing to work for the least amount. But guess what? The Chinese citizenry became trained in all of these jobs in manufacturing and industrial skills areas. And they've done incredibly well, and we've seen a lot of money pour into that country. So when Donald Trump talks about better trade deals, that's kind of sort of, I think, what he's trying to allude to. Now, one other thing he has really talked about is the need to build out infrastructure in the United States. Yes. There's absolutely no question in my mind that he's going to play the card that Ronald Reagan played, which is to expand the budget deficit. And I think if he were to be the president and take the White House, that's the first order of business. You're going to start to hear about a grand fiscal stimulus package where the budget deficit would probably explode over the first couple of years by anywhere from $1 to $3 trillion. Now, that's not bad in and of itself if you think about it.
If something gets accomplished.
Right.
Yes.
It depends on if you're taking that money and using it for a truly competitive bid process to go out and upgrade roads and bridges and things like that. So think about it this way. I'll boil it down, make it simple. We have a $20 trillion economy. Currently, we have close to $20 trillion in debt. That's a 100% debt to GDP ratio. Put that in perspective, China's is 240%. So yes, we have a lot of debt, but it's a lot less than other places in the world. So if you're a country or a business and you know that you can go out and borrow money for 30 years at 2.5% interest, that's pretty cheap money.
Pretty nice, yeah.
So when Trump says things like, "Oh, we would just renegotiate the debt," that comes across wrong, I think, in some people's eyes, like, "Oh, he's going to default." But that's not the case. What he's saying is, we can borrow money for 30 years at 2.5%, $1, $2, $3 trillion. You would see the GDP growth rate expand because, by definition, the formula of GDP includes government spending. But here's the key critical part of this. How do we use the money? For example, President Obama did the same thing when he came into the White House, but we saw a massive expansion in entitlement programs, welfare, food stamps.
Didn't go to the right thing.
And clean energy and solar and all this stuff, and it really didn't impact the economy. We know that now.
Yes.
Ronald Reagan's version was much different. I think Trump will try to follow that pathway. And so there's no question, as I said, I think that if he can get this fiscal stimulus program passed or get it through, you could see an explosion in the debt, to be clear.
Right.
But guess what happens when the real rate of return in the economy goes up, interest rates go back up,
that's right.
and you can go back and buy these 30-year bonds back at 70 cents on the dollar.
So you're better off.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right. So
well, thank you so much. We're going to get you come next week, and we're going to look at how it looks if we put the lady in the White House.
That's right.
Okay. And just remember this, do your homework, find out what's happening with each candidate before you do some voting. If the economy is important, find out how they feel about that economy. And we'll be right back right after this.